You're the guy who, when at CNN, said everything to defend the vaccine when you were being sponsored by Big Pharma. And all of a sudden now that you're here on PBD show, you'll say the truth. No, but for you to attack...
I'm not sponsored by Big Pharma.
No.
I'm not against the vaccine.
Hold on. You're not even listening to what I'm saying. You're attacking my motive, saying all I care about is generating interest. Meanwhile, when those CNN checks were coming in, you said nothing that would have put them in jeopardy. But now that you're here, you're starting to tell a little bit of the truth.
So hold on. No. That's not true. I don't have a changed opinion about the vaccine.
Chris, go look at the montages of
the unvaccinated. You are the problem. It is the unvaccinated who are the problem. Period. End of story.
The only people that you can blame, this isn't shaming, this is the truth. Maybe they should be shamed, are the unvaccinated.
It's time to start blaming the unvaccinated folks, not the regular folks.
Anyone you came into contact with will blame you, as will the rest of us who have done the right thing by getting vaccinated.
Because frankly, we know that we can't trust the unvaccinated.
I think it's time to get our moral house in order, Anderson. It's the unvaccinated who are the threat.
All of us vaccinated folks are going to start wearing masks to protect the unvaccinated folks. It's called a Christian value.
You're basically punishing the vaccinated for the sins of the unvaccinated.
People are not behaving honorably. The unvaccinated are basically saying, well, it's open season for me. I can do whatever I want as well.
The unvaccinated are basically beating their breasts, running around the country saying, we don't care, we're living free, and so forth.
We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin.
Welcome back to Disputes, where we cover the longest I told you so in human history. Today we're diving into a heated debate that recently took place on the PBD podcast between Chris Cuomo and Dave Smith. This debate touched on some very contentious topics: COVID-19 coverage, vaccine hesitancy, and Joe Rogan's use of ivermectin. Let's break it all down. To set the stage, Dave Smith confronted Chris Cuomo about CNN's coverage during the pandemic. He accused CNN, and by extension Chris, of turning the public against those who chose not to get vaccinated. Dave also brought up how he softball questioned his brother, who was New York's governor at the time, Andrew Cuomo. You know, a couple of wise guys, a couple of stallions who were Italians. Let's watch.
The point is that it was completely criminal for all of these governments to lock down. They had no authority to derive the right to lock down a state from. And yet you, instead of anyone at CNN thinking, hey, if we have Andrew Cuomo on here every single night, maybe someone should ask him that question. They went, no, give him a cushy interview with his brother. Like, you don't find that incredibly corrupt?
No, and here's why. Is that the only place that the governor of New York was? Is that the only access to media that they had to him? So your criticism really goes to all media, but really what it is an extension that you didn't like the lockdowns. It's not about whether there was legal authority for them. That's why there's been no lawsuit on the lockdowns that has proceeded and won. Because it wasn't about the authority of the government to use emergency measures in public safety situations. It's about whether they should have. And I'm totally fine with that. And you saw them all over the world. Many more severe than they were in the United States and for longer. But is it worth reviewing? Yes. What I'm saying is that my criticism would be that your interest is about how it generates attention. And that's fine, but it won't fix. I'm telling you right now, if God forbid something happened again, we would be lost about how to do it differently. And you'd have a pocket of people, 25, 35%, who say, I'm not going to do it. And you would lose that case again.
The media lacked questioning Andrew Cuomo, whose state had serious lockdowns and locked the elderly in retirement homes that ended up tragically ending a lot of lives. Instead, their focus came to Joe Rogan. CNN ostracized Joe for saying his doctor prescribed him ivermectin, and the media said it was horse dewormer. While it's true that ivermectin is used in veterinary medicine, it also has FDA-approved uses for humans. By focusing on its veterinary use, CNN arguably framed Rogan in a negative light, which Dave argues was a deliberate move to discredit him.
Just said, no, not everyone, and not everyone who gets paid. Joe Rogan is bigger than every single show at CNN combined and gets paid more than every single person at CNN combined. And he was 100% right about this thing through the entire time.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was.
No, he wasn't.
Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me get this point out here.
Tell me what he was right about.
Okay, how about, you know what you just revealed last month on Pat's show about ivermectin?
Yeah.
Joe Rogan was saying that, and you were smearing him for saying that.
Yeah.
You literally said he's taking horse dewormer.
Yes.
He should be ashamed of himself. You pleaded with your audience to not take it.
Yes.
Then you come back around and you go, hey, Pat, you know what I just found out? Turns out this thing isn't for animals. Turns out humans are. But Chris,
that's
a
not,
5-minute Google search and you would have known that.
First of all,
how do you not apologize to Joe Rogan?
Listen, do you know who disagrees with you? Do you know who disagrees with you? The people who make ivermectin disagree with you.
Hold on. What do they disagree with me about?
That the drug should not be taken as a standalone for COVID-19.
I never said it should.
That's what Rogan was saying.
No. He did not. No, listen. See, this is the thing, Chris.
Yeah,
that is a lie. That is a blatant lie.
Joe
Rogan. So you just pretended that I said it's a standalone for COVID. No. Here's what it always was. Here's what Joe Rogan said. My doctor prescribed it to me.
Chris Cuomo defends CNN's position by emphasizing their responsibility to public health. He suggests that their reporting was based on the scientific consensus at the time, which predominantly supported vaccines over treatments like ivermectin. However, this doesn't address the issue of how the narrative might have ostracized those with different views. Also, why is Chris Cuomo so defensive of CNN? Didn't they fire you, my guy?
Totalitarianism was justified because of the virus, but it is certainly not hype, and it's not, but you could argue that, but it certainly is totalitarian. If we ever looked on paper, any of us at any point pre-COVID, and said this government is instituting this policy, we would all recognize that as being totalitarian, as totalitarian as any society has ever existed. If that word doesn't apply to lockdowns, then it doesn't apply to anything. Now, I gotta say, listen, in this world, and I'll say this is true for our world, for the corporate media, for any time you're getting in front of a camera with a lot of people watching and talking about things that matter, the currency that we trade in is the truth. That's the whole currency. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to be right about everything, but it has to mean that I really believe what I'm saying. And if I'm lying to the audience, then I've betrayed my most fundamental duty. Right. And I would also put as a subset of lying, if I'm pretending I know something that I don't know at all, and I'm taking a very strong opinion, and with 5 minutes of research, you could find out that this is completely false, that's another form of lying. Now, sir, you have completely shirked all of your responsibility, and now you're pointing the finger at China. By the way, you were one of the people who demonized Donald Trump for calling it the China virus at the time, okay? So, when it was convenient for you, you had no problem smearing someone for pointing the finger at China. Your entire network also called everyone racist if we speculated that it came from the lab. I mean, literally, I did a podcast, it was either in April or May of 2020, when it already became obvious at that point that the lab was at least a very plausible, like we found out that 3 of the people at the lab went to the hospital with COVID-like symptoms, and there was a lab where they were doing gain-of-function research. And it was like, man, this sure does look like it. I had to stop talking about it for 4 months after that because I would have lost my entire YouTube channel, that was it. It was very clear if you said anything about that for months, you'd be shut down. During that time, you guys at CNN were just mocking everybody who would dare say it was a lab leak, and then we were unable to defend ourselves, or those who did got their livelihoods ruined.
I don't know what was happening on YouTube. I just want to be clear.
Dave's argument about media responsibility is crucial. The way information is presented can significantly impact public perception. By emphasizing only one aspect of ivermectin, CNN may have inadvertently contributed to a broader mistrust in the media, especially among those already skeptical of mainstream narratives. Chris brings up an important point about context. The mainstream medical advice during the pandemic was to avoid unproven treatments like ivermectin for COVID-19. However, the way this information was communicated is where the controversy lies. Chris acknowledges that there might have been a different way to handle the situation, but he maintains that the intention was to provide accurate information. I'm Colin Kaepernick on that. This brings us to the crux of the debate, the balance between responsible reporting and the impact it has on public perception. Dave's point is a powerful reminder of the media's influence. Whether intentional or not, the narratives pushed by major news outlets can have lasting effects on public trust and social cohesion. So what do you think? Did CNN and other media outlets go too far in their coverage of unvaccinated individuals and Joe Rogan's use of ivermectin? Or were they simply doing their job in trying to protect public health? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more in-depth analyses. Until next time, we told you so.